Hey, this is Joe Gilder from HomeStudioCorner.com. Want to kind of piggyback off of last week's topic and talk a little bit more about production and different ways that you can just simple ideas to enhance what you actually record long before we go to mix it, to just make things interesting and try to get it right at the source a little bit more. So here's another song from my album, and what I want to talk about is there's a tendency, for me at least, and I'm guessing you might have the same tendency sometimes, to try to record everything with the exact same rhythm. So if you have a song with a really interesting rhythm part, it might be tempting to say, hey, everybody, play this same rhythm. Now, in some cases, maybe everybody should. But sometimes maybe it's nice to add in another part that's kind of doing an alternate rhythm or a counterpoint sort of to that rhythm, if that makes sense. So let me show you an example. Here's just some raw tracks from my album. This is a fun kind of sort of a poppy, bouncy piano type song. And here's kind of the basic, before I added this other rhythmic component, this is what I had. So it's got this basic, it's all built around, I wrote the song on the piano, so it's all built around this part. So the right hand doing just straight bop, 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 and then those little push notes with the left hand. And so when you start adding in the other instruments, you've got the bass doing the same thing as the left hand on the piano. And then the electric guitar is doing kind of the same thing as well. Nothing crazy awesome. And then this one's just playing kind of diamond chords. So far, nothing really different rhythmically. And then I even added in this Wurlitzer track and this kind of Fender Rhodes sound to double the piano part to just add some more fullness to that. And then the drums are playing a little more of a straight rhythm, as you can hear here. But again, the kick pattern is kind of following that kind of cool push pattern that we have in the left hand of the piano. So altogether, it's not bad, but I felt like there was just something else that could be there. So here it is again, and then I'll show you what I added. And so I even added in an organ part, which is a nice little intro part. That kind of slide in is great. But it still doesn't change the fact that everything's kind of doing that same bouncy rhythm thing. And the problem is, it may sound cool, but over the course of a 3.5-minute song, you kind of get tired of that same bouncy rhythm. And so I've got lots of other things happening. The verse kind of strips down to a more simple part. It doesn't have that same rhythm, but every chorus in kind of this bridge turnaround section has this same sort of rhythm to it. So I was playing around on my keyboard, which I've got this old Yamaha motif. I'll see if I can turn it up. And I was going through different keyboard sounds, so electric keyboard stuff. And I thought it'd be cool to maybe see what like a clavinet would sound. So some sort of a cool clav track, if you will. And I was just flipping through presets and I came across this one. Turn that up a little bit so you can hear it. It's called New Phasing. So by itself that sounds weird, but I started kind of just playing rhythmically with it. And it's got this really neat sound to it, almost kind of like a wah sort of sound. So then I could do something like, right? And so it's got this cool, different rhythmic pattern to it. So what's happening is the left hand on the clav is playing the down, 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 really simple, straight quarter note, eighth note, whatever that is. And then the right hand is playing a completely different rhythm that nobody else is playing. And when you blend it in with the rest, it actually adds this whole other texture. Now, it may sound, I don't know, stylistically, this might be kind of a throwback to the 80s or something, I'm not sure. But I thought it added, rhythmically at least, a really cool extra texture. So here's the part that I recorded. So by itself, it's straight awesome 80s stuff. But when you blend it in with the rest, it's actually really, at least I think, really cool. So it's just there in the background. Now, this could be anything. It could be an electric guitar that plays that same rhythm, or some other rhythmic instrument playing a different rhythm. But the point here, even percussion could maybe do this. But the point is to have, if you have a very basic rhythm and everybody's kind of playing the same rhythm, it can be nice to have somebody else come along and play a different rhythm to kind of shake things up and give something else interesting for you to listen to throughout the song. So there you go. Hope that was helpful for you. Hope you've got ideas bubbling over in your brain of how you can apply this to one of your songs, and I'd love to hear about it as well. Thanks again for listening. I'm Joe from HomeStudioCorner.com. Head over there. Check out all the cool stuff happening over at HomeStudioCorner.com. If you've never been, there's free stuff awaiting you there. And otherwise, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you next week.